Hello everyone, and welcome to another horrific review. Flea and I are back as we continue our look into horror anime with Akira, directed by Katsuhiro Ôtomo. A secret military project endangers Neo Tokyo when it turns a biker gang member into a rampaging psychopath who can only be stopped by a teenager, his gang of friends, and a group of psychics. This movie was made on a budget of 5.7 million and brought in 49 million at the box office. Well, welcome back, Flea, and we are talking about this one.
There's a lot to say, really, isn't there? I mean, come on, this is Akira.
This is the one. This is the movie that just brought manga to the world. You know,
This is the film that opened the floodgate.
like no if buts or maybes.
It's like everything in the West that is anime has basically came from Akira. It's when was it released in this country? 92?
Yeah, the movie 92. God, it was hard to him. Why does that still feel as if it's like not that long ago? It's like 20 years.
All good films are like that. It's scary, isn't it? I mean, it's like Akira's what, 36 years old?
Because people mightn't realize it's based off a manga, a manga publication comic. So it's an adaptation of the manga that already existed, but this is the first of manga studios where they exclusively turned their properties into movies, and even people heard about manga before they heard about anime. They didn't realize there were other companies that did anime.
I remember when anime was first released in this country. It was released by Manga Studio, so it was manga.
That's all you said. It was manga.
Manga.
Now I would say anime, but it was just manga. That was it. That's how much of an impact this company had.
Oh dear. God, where do you start?
Well, I suppose to start at the misdirect of the posters. That'd be an interesting one because the posters are trying to say.
Go and watch it. That's all you can say about Akira.
Yeah, but it shows Canada and is a supercharged bike, and that's all the posters and everything. But it's not actually his story.
Not really. No, the story. It's Tetsuo's story. It's just it's Tetsuo's story viewed through the eyes of Canada.
Yeah, Canada's a point of view character. It's just interesting that because he looked shiny, they thought, okay, well, we'll put him for the posters because obviously Tetsuo as a rampaging psychopath doesn't have a good look.
Yeah, they can't in the film. They can't really show you Akira.
No, because Akira is the reveal. He is the background of the story. So Akira's almost like an idea in this, as opposed to a character until the very end.
He's more of a character in the manga.
Obviously the manga runs twice as long. That's movie's really only a shot, isn't it, into the series?
Yeah, it's like what the there was still when the film Akira released in 88, the manga still had 2 years. The manga didn't finish. The manga started in 82, finished in 90. It ran for 8 years and never stopped. Created, of course, by Katsuhiro Ôtomo, the same guy who directed the movie.
Oh yeah, he was in charge of turning this into.
It was the first anime he ever produced, but after he produced Akira, he stopped creating so many manga and went more into motion picture production.
Do you know what? Would you blame him though?
No, not at all.
If you're moved into a new medium and it's successful, why wouldn't you? It's almost like a natural progression. You write a book, you want the book turned into, you want the ideas brought into physical form, and that be animation. And if it's animation, you want it brought into live action, or it's almost like you're trying to get somewhere. Obviously, not saying one's less than the other, but it just seems to be if you've got an idea in your head, you do want to see it manifest in physical format. And
he was basically more or less pressured into producing it by some very big names. I mean, by very big names in the in the Japan anime industry. I mean, Kodansha was there, Bandai was there, Toho
Mm-hmm.
of Godzilla fame. It's crazy amount of people pushed him into it. And then as a final thing to get him started, they threw 500 million yen at him.
That'll do
it. I'm not quite sure how much that is.
It's interesting because the Akira studios themselves look like a sweatshop.
Yeah. That a lot of there's a lot of like sweatshop accusations in anime, especially back in those days when everything was produced by hand. Because it's like I read somewhere that it's like the difference between say like a Disney animation of the time and Akira is that Disney animation is filmed at 12 frames per second. Akira was filmed at 24.
Bloody hell! I mean, you see the technique. Actually, funny enough, because of I took a snapshot from the special features just to give people an idea of like the level of detail. Because when you see this is the bit that blew me away. I'll bung this on here. I've taken the sound off, obviously, and of course, it's only a snapshot. So the link, I'll make this video live after playing it. Turn that down. But yeah, it just looks like a sweatshop.
Ah, the gold. See, this is what I agree. This is what people call the golden age of anime. It's like some of the best anime and the greatest anime movies were brought out in this area. Were brought out in the 80s, the early 90s.
Like she's checking the frames, like, and they do this all with the hand drawings first before they even.
Oh yeah, what they do is they as you can see what she's doing there, they draw a rough on paper, and then once they've got the animation running in like a flip book, they'll take the papers, they'll fasten them down, they'll put a sheet of acetone on top of them, and they'll just like using either a pen or a paintbrush, they'll trace the outline onto the acetone.
Oh yeah, well you'll see it here. Like I said, I took a snapshot from the documentary's 45 minutes long. But yeah, they're actually hand painting with acrylics. So the story is split into 4 books, 4 parts. So they're sort of storyboarded that way. But when you see this, look at that level of detail.
Scene where you see the man with the brush putting the individual windows into the tower.
Yeah, they're windows, and that was the further back windows. So obviously they're the dots, but obviously as it got closer, they became more detailed.
It's like it's quite bad side, but I remembered that movie. I remember that. I thought, yes, I know what building that is and exactly where in the film that is.
But each of those is a work of art. Like each of those frames, you wouldn't be embarrassed hanging on your wall.
Normally, when they finish the production, they would auction off the frames. So there are people actually out there who own frames from Akira. You can still get them, but they're worth ridiculous
I'd
amounts
imagine.
of money.
Just for like they are works of art themselves.
Yeah,
let's be honest.
Just for background, but it's like the ultimate thing that cell collectors want is the background with the intermediate and a cell with like either an action scene with the main characters in it.
There's a bit about that.
There you go.
There's 137 different unique colors are created. Sorry, 327. So each of them's labeled. You know, they don't even bother with like magenta blue, ocean blue. They just number them. Like, look at that.
You have to paint them in reverse. You know, normally you start with the background colors and then you work in towards until you get to the face, the eyes, the shadows, the things like that. With an animation cell, because of the way you paint it, you have to paint it backwards. You start with the shadows, then you fill in, then you do the eyes, like you do the big bits first and work backwards into the small details.
And then you've got was it like 37, 38, like each individual. Look at the way it's put together, composited.
Yep, you have to do that.
Just for a scene. You
have to do that 24 times for every second of running time.
Yeah, that's what you're saying about the 24 frames a minute.
This is a 2.5 hour. Oh, sorry, this is a 2 hour long film. incredible amount of detail. I actually think anime lost something when we went into the computer generation, the computer generated graphics, because they're still drawn by hand, like most anime is still drawn by hand, but it's drawn by hand on a tablet. I mean, if one of those people painting one of their cells made a mistake, if they couldn't rescue it, that was it. They start from the beginning.
Yeah, it's had to start from scratch. Job.
Now,
you know.
you just keep tabbing backwards.
I'm not against technology. You know, I mean, I'd be a fool if I said that. Flip sake, look at this podcast. If it wasn't for technology, it wouldn't happen. God, I was actually thinking about that back in the school days of VHS and 8mm and camcorders and old school 8-track. Like,
Betamax for the win.
Do you remember CB radios? Like, the only way I'd be able to put out a podcast, I guess, would have been by pirate radio. And that's where you basically nick the channel and you just hit the squelch and played it.
Yeah.
Or if you didn't have the, you know, I mean, and this is where if you got good with a solder arm, which I wasn't, I'm flipping cack-handed with that sort of stuff. But you'd either just have the speaker attached to the transmitter, or else you'd find a way to wire it together so it went straight out on the channel. Yeah. But
I mean, it's like,
I'm just saying that was an undertaking to do something like that.
I mean, I remember before Manga Entertainment and Pioneer and what was the other one, Anime Go, before all these companies suddenly appeared in Britain, like bringing up manga. The way you got manga was you knew this guy who you got like met through like a chat column in like a fan magazine, who you could basically like you post him videotapes and a list of the things you wanted, and he'd send you the videotape back with the episodes of the anime you wanted to see. And I've still got some of those tapes. God dear, but it's stuff you can't get anymore, which is why you keep them. But it's God, the good old days.
Yeah. What I don't, like I said, I'm not against technology, but there's something about having people with that level of skill. Like, you're talking about hand painting with acrylics and getting the gradient. It has to be acrylics on that in sort of sales, because I think Disney did watercolors because it was glass and really get away with it. And they basically, you know, that's why, how many layers was that thing? 8 or 9?
Anything in some of the big really glorious productions, there's anything up to 12 layers. The worst thing is it's acetone, so it's flexible. And if you bend it too much, the paint will flake off it.
Oh, you talking about this, the acetone?
Yeah.
Or the acetate, yep. Yeah, but I mean, that's the difference, where you can see the vibrancy, and it's not really, they're not using digital technology, as the point I'm trying to make. When you look at this compared to Disney animation, which is the main one, because Pixar wasn't even really a thing then.
Yeah.
When did Toy Story come out? 96?
Oh, hang on. Homegrown anime. Let's think. Little Mermaid was the last Disney that used hand-drawn animation. Everything after the Little Mermaid was CG.
Right.
But
so pre-Pixar Disney, basically.
Yeah.
You can compare like for like, and you look at the detail in this animation is what I'm trying to say.
There are still animation studios in Japan which use hand-drawn animation, as in like they still use like the acetate. They still shoot the individual scenes in that way, and you can tell them. But digital technology is catching up. I think the thing that gives digital technology away most is the backgrounds, because they're too clean. Yeah, because it's like if you look at the scene, if you look at the
well, the pub scene would be a good one for this.
Yeah, or just the bike chase at the beginning, where you see it's like you're looking up at the buildings, and you can see parallax moving the buildings. It's like there's a grunginess to it. There's a slight stutter to it. It's like digital animation is just too clean.
Yeah, I think there should be a combination of both. Obviously the fast food chain stuff, like your generic stuff will be pure CGI. At the end of the day, it'll be AI generated soon. It practically is there already. And that's all right for your popcorn flick audiences that don't appreciate anything. But at the same time, there's still a market for people who want more artur stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not wasted. What I am concerned about with digitization is people losing skills. Like, how many kids can you say today can really handwrite?
This is I can't
There's a,
understand.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, so
It might seem like a silly skill
I'd say
to have.
this is very, very true. But my handwriting has always been really bad. So
Mine's atrocious. I'm the worst for it because when I get into databases and stuff, that was it. You know what I mean? Pen, but
Yeah.
still use it. I still like to write my stories in pen first. You know, handwrite first. Like I'm still out old school because it's just not having a screen near me for a while.
God, all my TTRPG is written in little A4 reporters' notebooks. You know, the spiral bound ones. But it's like that. I always handwrite mine. I think that's because I don't use VTTs very often.
In fairness to VTTs, once again, I'm not against technology. They really have made things accessible. The different level, and they take a lot of the. We were having this wee chat before we went live about the crunchiness of games.
I think mine is just because it's like most of my role playing has been done around the table, face to face with people, instead of being like across the internet like I've recently started. So I know nothing about VTTs, and the problem is a lot of the games I play are old enough that they don't have VTTs, and unfortunately, I have no skill to make them. And no patience to learn.
Yeah, that's a big thing. It's a big learning curve. Like you missed it.
It's because I spend all my time watching anime. That's the problem.
Not a bad hobby to have, especially like this one. But just to see in that level, like I said, old school detail, and the fact that this still holds up. Like there's stuff being produced today that still can't hold a candle to this.
That's one of the glories. Akira is as fresh today as it was nearly 40. Well, as it was in '88 when it first came out. I mean, you can still show this. You can still show Akira to people, and people will say, "Wow." It's a film that's aged incredibly well because there's a lot of films with live action anime. You'll put them in front of people, and they've aged really, really badly.
I'll say the original Transformers movie, perfect example. That is not aged well.
The second one's even worse. But it's like this. It's almost like
animated.
Well, oh no, I was on about live action.
No.
The first.
Wise up to yourself. Wise up to yourself. I wouldn't even mention those abortions.
I don't think I'm trying to think. Have I even seen the Transformers movie?
1984.
I don't know.
No way. You can't tell me.
If it's the one with Hot Rod in, I've never seen it.
All right then.
There you go. There you go. That's my shock reveal for the night. I have never seen the 1984 Transformers animated movie. So
yeah, you kind of need that in your life. Like that's just one of those moments. But it has not aged well.
Instead of watching that, watch Akira again, which I will gladly do.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, but that has not aged well. And well, the thing is with me, like I'd read the Marvel comic series, so there were spoilers in the Marvel comic series. So when it came to the movie, I already knew the plot.
Oh well, yeah,
I wasn't surprised.
I read 2000 AD. I had a friend who read Transformers, and we kind of like when we'd swap them out so that we could read each other's comics.
I've done that myself. That's how I got to read about the X-Men. Because it wasn't for like, okay, here's my bundle of comics, there's your bundle of comics, right? We'll swap back in a month or a couple of weeks or something, 100 issues at a time.
Yeah. Like, here's this week's carrier back. Thanks very much.
Mm-hmm. Oh, simpler times. But you need to take a mortgage out to buy stuff now.
It's getting ridiculous. It's getting stupid. It's like this hobby as well. Anime. It's getting more and more expensive. because everybody wants you to sign up for the streaming service, which is another monthly bill. It's like if you want to buy DVDs and things like that, the best place to get them from is America, which means you're talking like 25 quid a DVD.
Mhm.
Sometimes postage and packaging isn't on top of that.
If you're lucky. Nah, it's frustrating. I'm sick. I was going to sign up to one of the animes a while ago, but do you remember Funimation merged with Crunchyroll, and then
Yeah.
everyone who had a Funimation account got it basically wiped from under them?
Yeah, because the thing with Funimation was you actually instead of just like signing up and watching a series, you could actually buy that series.
Yeah, but like Prime.
And that you still had to be online to watch it, but you could buy a series, and like even if you stopped paying subscription, you would always have access to that series because it was yours. The moment Crunchyroll came in, they just took that out and deleted the series out of people's accounts.
Yeah, that was
which is a
shitty move.
terrible move. Thanks, Country.
Yeah, but that just creates bad feeling. That's just companies being absolutely scummy. And the thing is, people have forgotten. And just it is relative to this because this is a time where people were making stuff because they wanted to please the customer.
Yeah, if you think about back in '88 when this came out, nothing could have been done about it because there was no internet.
Mm-hmm.
The internet didn't exist. So, like I say, it was all word of mouth and sending and like posting videotapes to shifty people who you'd heard about in a magazine or something like that.
Giving them your home address and send them checks, and
it's
maybe the video store. I remember
checks?
Our video store got
checks?
a free. Yeah,
no money was involved because what you would do is like your payment for the anime you were getting back was basically the video cassette you sent him. You send like a video cassette and a half a dozen stamps, stick them in an envelope, post them, send them to him. Then they'd use the stamps to send the video back. You never got the video you sent back.
Oh, they used that then for
they'd use that for someone else, but it was just kind of like no money because it's like this is still true today. There's a grey area in Japanese copyright law where if you copy something but you don't use it for monetary gain, that's perfectly fine. Which is how all these downloading, which is how all these like streaming sites work because they're non-profit.
That's a fair one.
It still works for the moment.
Nah, it's but at the same time, stuff like that you support. It's when companies do, like I changed my opinion. I was 100% anti-sail the high seas, but as companies have just got more scummy about things and actually treating people like dirt, I've changed my position entirely on it. I'm like, have at it, folks, because
the problem with anime, because of the cost of it and because of the sheer amount that's churned out every year, you can't buy everything. So it's like people use free sites like that, or like subscription services like Crunchyroll or Funimation when it was here, or whatever the other one's called. I can't remember. They use it to check anime out, and then once they found the anime they like, they will buy the hard copy of it. Because that's the way I buy my anime. I'll watch it somewhere else, and if I like it, I will buy it.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's at the end of the day, if you support something, you'll support it. You don't need to have your arm twisted up your back. If somebody's, and it's back to where I think I've lost the culture of that. Of right, we want a fan base. We want you to appreciate what we do. We're doing our best for you. And it was almost an unwritten agreement of we're not going to play shenanigans with you. You don't play shenanigans with us because we need to keep the door open, and you don't want to feel ripped off.
Yeah, I am kind of jealous of the Japanese anime fan base because they have it far better than any other country does with anime. It's like they have events, they have pop-up shops, they'll have places like be at this time. We'll give you something to do with your favorite series. And you just don't get any of that over here.
UK is so mainstream about everything. This is a frustrating country to live in if you're anyway into niche hobbies.
Oh, do you remember when Akira first came out? It's like the Daily Mail and the Daily Express were full of stories. It's like these cartoons are coming from Japan and they're trying to turn our children into demonic fiends.
But they've done that before. Like, oh, woe's Clutch the Pearls. Oh, woe is me. Dungeons and Dragons is creating satanic cults in every street corner.
I was going to say it's kind of like the American Dungeons and Dragons satanic panic, only with a cup of tea and an I say. You know, I say that's just not on. That isn't what are bike gangs in a cartoon? My children shouldn't be watching that. To which Manga Entertainment turned around and said, "Yeah, mate, it's an 18 certificate. Your children shouldn't be watching it."
Yeah.
At which point all the arguments disappeared because all these people had gone out and brought their kids 18 certificate videos.
But that's down to their stupidity. Like, we have a very clear grading system, BBFC, and if it says 18, guess what? Yeah, little Johnny or little Susie shouldn't be watching it.
I think it's conception though, isn't it? Because it's like, oh, it's got an 18 certificate on it, but it's a cartoon, so how could it possibly be an 18?
We've had this conversation on the channel, and it's one of those debates that like stupid people still don't get. Animation is a legitimate art form. It's the same as you can have a live action film and it can be for adults, and you can have a live action film and it can be for kids.
Yeah,
one doesn't betwixt the other. Animation is useful.
There are people out there who seem to think that anime is a genre.
It's a style.
It's not a genre. It's an entire. It's like music. It's like literature. It's 1,000,001 different genres all crushed into like one heading. Anime.
Yeah. Which was obviously we're exploring the horror elements on this channel. Someone else will on another channel explore the more fantastical elements, the magic. You know, there's plenty of that. Someone else will explore the cyberpunk or the steampunk ones that come out, or and sometimes there is crossover. Like this is sci-fi horror. There's no if buts or maybes about it.
It is. It's like it's a horror movie. It's definitely a horror movie, but it has strong cyberpunk elements in it.
Yeah, but once again, the horror genre isn't just the bloody slasher flick. That's once again, there's another misconception that people have when you talk about horror. It's
what would you class this out? Because one article I was reading on Akira described it as body horror.
There's an element of that too, but once again, it doesn't. And this is where you have imagination. You don't have to have this is cyberpunk, and then that's all to have the elements of it. Yes, there's a bit of, but even then, I would say this is pre-cyberpunk. It's not quite
right. Right.
Okay, right. I've got somewhere. We've got a talking point.
The birth of cyberpunk was there's the William Gibson's novel Neuromancer. Yeah. When was Neuromancer released?
I have no idea.
1984. When was Akira released?
Technically 88, but we got it.
92. So 82.
Oh, you mean the?
Yeah, the manga. The manga of Akira predates Neuromancer by 2 years. Because it is Akira. Some people class Akira as being one of the first cyberpunks. Just because I don't know if it is, because it's not so much cyberpunk as dystopian.
Yeah, it's post World War III. That's the whole setting of this. It's Neo Tokyo, so it's after World War III, and Tokyo's basically built itself up from the ashes. And there's a lot of socio-political stuff going on. Like this is basically the Cold War. You know what I mean? This is the height of the Cold War. Yeah. This was written, and that was in the back of everybody's head.
It's set in 2019.
But there's so much in this that just looks like today. Let's be honest.
It's done a pretty good job of predicting. Apart from psychic kids and massive explosions, it's done a pretty good job of predicting what the world would be like today, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's really bang on the knuckle, to be honest, and it's frightening actually that we are in that almost. This almost does feel dystopian. Like there's that sort of regime of people trying to control everybody's lives, and people against it. There's these factions against each other, and it's become like the new religion. You know what I mean? Everything is ideological. It's not even reasoned argument anymore. It is burn the witch in the 21st century. That's the way people think
if,
they're
if you
behind the scenes
yeah,
people
it's
to get their own games.
if you want a really good dystopian anime movie, I have one for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Jinro.
Not familiar.
Oh, you see, Jin. It's basically it's set after World War II.
Mm-hmm.
America invaded Japan, but the Third Reich won. So the Third Reich counter invaded Japan to drive the Americans out, and Japan is now ruled by a fascist government, which has a secret police force called the Jinro. Werewolves.
Something Harry Turtledove would come up with.
It's great. It's called Jinro Wolf Brigade, and if you
Mm-hmm.
find it, I really recommend you watch it. The first half hour of that film is absolutely incredible.
Cool.
But anyway, that's Jinro. This is Akira.
But yeah, it is scary, like I was saying, just how close it is to the day. Like how accurate. It was almost Nostradamus level predictions to the state of the world.
So how old were you when you realized you were living in dystopia? It's like, well,
I grew up in Northern Ireland, let's be honest. I was pretty much
yeah.
there. The 80s. The 80s weren't fun where I grew up. I was pretty much there anyway, so.
We grew up in rural Derbyshire. I don't think things have changed around here for like 200 years. Jesus.
God, you used to have the biggest horror of the world, The Gathering. Major countrywide lost event, which brings all the orcs from the caves.
But no. I have no recollection of anything called The Gathering. The Gathering, isn't that a card game?
I do, because I was there. I've tried it. That was fun. I spent a lot of time drunk because stuff it.
It's
so.
I'd say from the things I've heard, I've got to be honest, being drunk was one of the few ways to survive it.
Yeah,
it's like numb the senses so you don't see what's happening.
Basically, that was a hard week. 4 days, yeah, that was a hard 4 days.
Oh wow.
Dear, but yeah, they don't shy away. They show the griminess, like you said, and we see it with the bike gangs, and the fact that these are school kids, and then you're going, how do they get these bikes? And then they basically say they steal them, so they're nicking bikes. It's just complete lawlessness.
Yeah,
and these kids are written off by society.
It's like they're in a vocational high school, which means that the oldest, the kids, are 18.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just kind of what kind of world they're living in. I mean, I wouldn't mind living in their world because I really would like Canada's bike.
Well, like he said himself, if you want one, go steal it yourself.
Yeah, well, there's only one in existence. It's on the other side of the world.
Dear. God, what was it? Like the subtext in this movie, like the world isn't right. It's just, it's just ready to devolve again. It's the powder keg.
It's one of those questions. It's like if Japan is that bad, what's the rest of the world like?
Well, let's be honest. When Japan goes hardcore feudal, you know what I mean, that they don't mess about. Second World War proves that.
This is true.
So when they get their being up on it, like I know people think Japan is super fluffy now, but there's still a dark side to their culture, and we actually explored that with Perfect Blue.
Oh, there is.
There's still a major dark side. Like you don't have one of the world's most notorious criminal gangs that's on the word of everybody's lips that haven't even been to Japan.
They're very nice people.
Apparently they are. If you play nice. But if you're getting shaken down, if you're a store owner and you're getting shaken down, you know what I mean? They're not very nice people. But if you play by the rules sort of thing, but still, they will go and hack at each other. Like rival gangs will go and take each other out and stuff. So
they will. And there's very little that, not only it's like it shows you in Akira, there's very little the police can do for you. If you look in any scene where anybody is trying to stamp any kind of order onto the city, it's the military.
But it's effectively a military state because you've got a paramilitary police force because everything out, they're just watching helplessly by, because there's no way you can. Lawlessness is just, the rule of the day. And what can you do in that respect? You're trying to hold the fabric of a society together. And when we see the cults and all happening, and we then find out this all happens by accident, by the way, because we've got they're called the Espers, the saggy kids that are basically holed up in a military facility. This terrorist gang kidnaps one, basically, trying to free them, but they're essentially kidnapping them.
It never does explain why they kidnap him.
The politician guy set it up. The one that had the heart attack.
Yes. I might pick it up then. Oh.
He set that up because he basically wanted to overthrow the colonel.
It didn't work
because they were up to their shenanigans.
It didn't work.
So the ruling council, this was a newly formed government. The Tokyo isn't out of military martial law yet, and they're trying to set up the transition. So this guy thought by kicking off this incident, he would kick the transition a bit earlier.
Good God.
That's why I've said it's so frightening. It's so similar to today. You've got the pawn, the foot soldiers on the ground. You just look at social media, all the ones gobbing off. They don't know what they're gobbing off about, but they want to be popular so that, our team wins, rah. And they don't understand that the people pushing them around. And that's all sides, you know what I mean? It's not level of one side. You've got stupid people all across the board. But they don't know what game they're playing. They just want to, vent off their frustrations or their social inabilities, whatever it is. They don't care. They're just there for the fight.
I think the colonel is one of the best characters in the film.
Yeah, Shikishima is he's like 100% straight man in all this.
Because it's like for one reason, the three children. What is it? 20, 25, 26, and 27. He calls them by their names. The politicians only call them by their numbers. Because like Akira is 28.
Yeah, he is somebody basically just sees himself. He's stuck between a rock and a hard place. He's trying not to have this city devolve into absolute chaos and tear itself apart.
He seems to be the only one who's playing by the book.
And that's the problem when you're playing by the book and no one else is. You have no chance. And that's always been the way of the world. Let's be honest.
Always will be.
And he'll never change. People will never change.
But
we are who we are. We're chimps in suits at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's one of the great things about anime that they don't shy away from issues like that. Because it's like we mentioned Perfect Blue again earlier. Perfect Blue delves into a side of like fandom that the media industry in Japan would rather people don't know about.
Yeah, and also idol culture. That's
they tried to cancel Perfect Blue when it came out before cancelling things was even mentioned, before it was even thought of. They tried to shut Perfect Blue down.
Yeah,
that's why you have it today.
That's when you know you're touching a nerve. And the thing is, I think that's the daftest thing to do, to be honest. Because something's uncomfortable, as long as it's not actually saying, right, go see that group, we don't like that group, go wipe them out. That's wrong. Never, what I mean? That's when you're crossing the line. But if you are touching a nerve or talking about a subject and you want to shut that down, well, guess what? That subject is obviously, you've just revealed your position, if that makes sense. That maybe you don't have the best intentions. Any idea should be open to debate. And that's how we get new ideas. That's how you test things, is through debate and discussion and ideas. And some people aren't orators. Some people don't want to have, the structured debate, so they express themselves in their art. And there used to be a thing called subtext. which is completely gone now. And this movie has a lot of subtext. It's talking about a lot of things in the background that when you delve into it, you sort of say, yeah, but it's not beating you over the head, and also it's not telling you
it's a much deeper movie than a lot of people think it is, because it's one of those things where people look at it, oh, cartoon, can't be serious.
I would defy anybody to watch this and not be moved by it. Honestly, I would defy anybody to watch this and not get the... This is not a happy tale. It isn't a fluffy, everyone lives happily ever after. There's no heroes, really, in this movie.
Not really. It's not really, no. I mean, it's like... Well, I was going to say, at the end, who saves everybody? Like, we're not going to tell you. Go and watch it.
Yeah.
But it's like...
We're being deliberately vague about this, because even though this is over 20 or pushing on 30 years old,
it's... God, yeah.
Still is a great story if you haven't watched it.
It's still relevant. It's like there are numerous lists of like the best anime movies or the best this movie, that movie, scattered around the world, and in almost every single one of them, Akira is in the top half of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because Akira is just one of those films that will never it will never age. It's whether you watched it when it first came out in 88, or if you go and watch it tomorrow, or if you watch it in 20 years time, it's still relevant. It's like it's almost as if the story is timeless. Yeah,
it is, because at the end of the day, it's a human condition. Chat's just started filling up. We're just saying hello to everybody. How are you?
It's one of those. It's one of those films. It's like I watched it. I watched it Tuesday night. I watched it last night. It's almost like one of those films where every time you watch it, you get a new angle. There's something new in it. It's like you'll notice some detail in the background that you didn't pick up on before.
Oh yeah, because there's a lot going on. And
glory. The first bike chase, the tail lights. God, they are amazing.
But even going through the city, and also you compare the action scenes in this, say, to a modern action movie, which is so sanitized. You actually see people getting hit and wiped out, and the carnage that would, if you had an actual bike chase and gangs were fighting, this is what would happen.
I am quite impressed with the leader of the clown gang, because he wasn't wearing sleeves and he just went off his bike and got up completely unharmed. He's one tough dude.
Yeah, that's... And if it was truly cyberpunk, he would have enhancements. But
if it was truly cyberpunk, his skin would have rubbed off and you'd be able to see the chrome underneath.
Yeah. But that's what there's a hint that stuff might be going on when they talk about performance enhancing drugs and stuff. It's not just recreational drugs, but there's a hint that performance enhancing drugs are a thing and available, and there's the possibility of experimentation on humans.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, all that sort of head underneath that is possible in this world.
There's got to be a reason why Canada's got that humongous great pill stamped on the back of his jacket. Actually, I can tell you why that is. If you read the manga, you'll find out the bike gang is the leader of. Is called the Capsules.
Yeah, because it's an interesting name.
I know. It's kind of like you expect something a bit more, kind of like a bit more in your face, a bit more hard guy. The Capsules. But they do hang around in that bar with whatever the barman is like selling under the counter.
What was it? The slam the door and the barman's like, "Oh," it's like, "Well, if you weren't doing anything wrong, you wouldn't be so jumpy, would you?" And just
what can I get you? Peanuts, 3 of them. It's a dark movie. It's a dystopia movie. There's fights, there's blood, there's pain, there's comedy.
Yeah,
and just that little bit of comedy. It's like Canada following Kay around. It just adds that little bit of lightness that stops the movie from getting too dark.
Yeah, because talk about someone who hasn't got a bloody clue. that had me in stitches.
It is. I honestly wonder if Canada's movie. Honestly, honestly wonder if Canada's main role in this film is comic relief. Because you remember the scene when they were pulled in by the police.
Yeah, because that's how he meets Kay.
That's how he meets
And
Kay, yeah.
he gets himself involved.
And
But before that, there's
he's
basically a car crash. One of the Espers, these are the Psyche kids, is being dragged away, rescued, but we don't think so. Because even he's not too sure. And Tetsuya just crashes into him and nothing happens to either of them.
Huge road-filling ball of fire.
Mm-hmm.
Just before that, though, the moment where the guy is dragging him away gets gunned down.
Oh, yeah, that was brutal. Like, there's no chat away.
That is such a good scene. And it's not the kind of thing that you would see, no matter how dark it was, it's the kind of thing that you would never see in an animation in the West.
No, God, even Western animation, once again, it's this idea that it's only an art form for children. This is what made Western. We only got adult Western animation after this movie hit the world. And I mean, it hit the world with a slap. I mean, even people that didn't know what Akira was heard Akira. This name reverberated around the world because I was there 3,000 years ago. I was there. I remember it well. And it was a phenomenon. In fact, I remember. Do you remember the Virgin Megastores?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not old, right?
That's where you could get. That's where you went to get most of it because
you
Virgin
couldn't get it anywhere else. Even the HMV.
I'm gonna say Virgin. Even when Virgin always had a better anime shop than HMV.
But the HMV didn't get it till later.
My local Virgin Megastore was in Derby, and it was brilliant because you'd have the anime shelf, and the shelf just across from it was the role-playing shelf. What a great store! Where did they all go to anyway? What did Richard Branson do to them?
He's an idiot. He's an absolute God. He is a classic example of a parasite. People put him up as an entrepreneur, but he's a parasite.
Ooh.
But yeah, the Virgin, that once again, that was another chain he bought out and put his logo over it and then run it into the ground.
Virgin Megastore was good and used to have anime. It used to be absolutely brilliant when they used to combine them into the like 3 tapes for £5 deals.
But just having that section on the shelf, just knowing it was there and it was never seen before, and you're like, what is this? And I was, just coming into young adulthood, you're like, I can watch this. I'm not a kid anymore, but this is something else. And when you watch it, it just takes your breath away.
The first manga entertainment video I saw was Fist of the North Star. You must watch that.
I believe I have.
What a great film. But it's like it's kind of like getting a copy of Akira. I remember getting a copy of Akira was hard because it's like as soon as they arrived on the shelves, they were gone. Because it was literally of all the anime that was released, there were only like half a dozen titles released in the UK at the first, but the one that got all the headlines was Akira. Because people watched it and they were professional critics going, I'm like, this is amazing, this film is incredible, where's this film been all our life? And it's like, for once they got it right.
Yeah, it was a game changer. There's no doubt about that. And I'm glad it happened. I'm glad this movie came out. And when I see how they made it as well, this wasn't just a gimmick. There's no gimmickness about this. This is a task of love. Like Ôtomo, he loved this story. It was a brainchild. And he wanted it to be truly represented. And I don't think he could have done any better.
He wrote a similar story when he first started his career as a manga artist, but it didn't take off. It wasn't received very well. It was the same kind of the same kind of like biker gang in a post-apocalypse city, Because it's like, in a way, after the Third World War, you could throw post-apocalypse in this as well.
Oh yeah, it's definitely not dystopia, like Mad Max type of that,
Yeah.
But there's still the sort of the rule of law is just about hanging on. And like Colonel Shikishima, he has held this city together, not out of need for power or anything. He would just walk away. He's that type. It would just be like, see you tomorrow, happy to retire. But sense of duty, it's like, if I step off people now, this will get a lot worse. But you've got the greedy politicians in the background.
Yeah.
Just want to, they just want their power. They want to, it's that need. It's weird, but they're that desperate to be in charge that they're wanting to push things along, where this whole plot happened. And you're just like, it's so relevant to today. It's scary. It really is.
There are so many anime out there that's still relevant today.
We're watching it happen in real time. You know what I mean?
It's kind of like the background politics are the kind of thing that you can take it out of Akira and pretty much slot it into any country that's out there in some form.
Oh yeah, it's universally, but that's the thing. That's the human experience, and that's why it's good to see. You know what I mean? That's why it's good to look for the similarities and not focus on the differences between ourselves. We'll look for the things that bond us together. But then nerd culture has always done that.
Oh God, yeah.
That's always been a thing. It's just makes me laugh when people talk about nerd culture as if, oh, they let everybody. I was like, yeah, because we're weirdos and there's not that many of us. So if you're another weirdo, we understand. Come on in. Just don't be a dick.
So I always say it's because I've got taste.
I just embrace it. I don't care. I don't need people to. I know what I am, so I just go with it.
Like,
I've been comfortable for years.
It's like, why do you watch anime? For the stories mainly. Come on,
because it's fun and I enjoy it.
Watch this. Plunks on the sofa.
Yeah, but you couldn't get this in a live action movie.
There keeps being talk about a live action Akira.
It would be CGI, so it would just be animated anyway.
It would. There was talk about an Akira movie in the late 90s, early noughties before CGI took over, and the level of CGI that was then, just think how much worse it could be if they did it now.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you an example. Bleach.
Oh, yeah.
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 There you go. So that's what it'll be. Basically, a more corporatized version of Bleach.
There are lots of anime out there that have been ruined by cheap computer. Netflix, damn you, is guilty of this. They'll take a series that was released 10 years ago, and it's like, we're going to do a continuation of it, and it looks like something from early Pokemon where everything was made of triangles.
That's shit. No, I'm still angry with Netflix over Death Note. They ruined that. And do you know what the funny thing was? They actually kicked themselves in the arse, because they released the anime series on their platform the same time as the movie. And everyone went, all right, that was the movie. Okay, let's watch the series. Fuck that movie.
Yeah, it's like, does this mean we're not going to be covering Death Note? Does this mean we're not going to be covering the Death Note movie?
I'll be all right to rip. It'll be like an Alien Covenant type review.
Yeah. Well, like you say, we've got to do the good and the bad, or this kind of like it's like it's like everything can't be just white. It's got to be black and white.
Yeah, and wee shades of grey thrown in. Like there was good parts of the movie, but then it just developed into absolute stupidity. But it doesn't even hold a candle to the anime. Like it was only one season.
I've got to be honest.
Of an anime, you know what I mean?
You've described most films that I've seen recently. It starts off good, but just devolves into stupidity.
It's like a run out of steam. Just they get to the second act and like, oh, no more ideas.
It's like jumping away from anime for the moment. The best film I've seen in the past couple of years is probably Godzilla -1.
Well, I don't know if we should cover that or not, because that is. I don't know if it's a true horror movie. Let us know in the chat, because I would consider that is not fluffy Godzilla.
It's atomic horror. I mean, it's atomic horror, because I mean, it's like Akira, what's the first thing you see in Akira? The bomb
Flipping
going
nuclear
off.
explosion,
Like,
Tokyo getting wiped out.
the explosion in the middle of Tokyo that kick-started World War III.
Mhm.
But it's like I'd be quite happy to sit through Godzilla. Apparently, they've just released Godzilla -1, the monochrome edition. So if you're really artistic, you can watch it in black and white.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
I'm
Yeah,
honestly
They
tempted.
never did that in cinemas over here.
I'm honestly tempted to give it a go. To be quite honest, God, I love that film. Proper
If they wanted to
Godzilla.
do it properly, they would do it in Technicolor, 1950s style.
Yeah, proper Godzilla.
Proper Technicolor. Not
Proper Technicolor.
No, that movie's brilliant. And there's a horror element to it. Like Godzilla's not messing about. But it's a bit like this. You've got arrogant people messing with things they shouldn't. It's science fiction horror. It's the classic, should we meddle in this? No. I know better, so I'm going to. Uh-oh, we're in trouble. Like that's sci-fi horror all over. Oh, we've discovered this thing that we've never encountered before. Let's poke at it. Oh, it's eating me alive.
It's like
maybe I shouldn't have done that.
We poked it with a stick and it blew up.
Yeah, what a shock.
But like this kid's been involved in a traffic accident of some kind, and now he's developing the same powers. Here's your stick, poke away.
And the fact that the kids never batted an eyelid, that the military arrive in helicopters and just scoop the kid up and take him away, Tetsuya, and they just say it as a matter of fact and then go to lodge their formal complaints.
Yeah.
As if this happens every day. Like, that is a subtext right there of martial law. People get disappeared on a daily basis.
I mean, it's like, I don't think any of the biker gang actually have parents. I think they're all orphans from the war or something. Hang on. When was the bomb dropped?
Or even at that, do you know the old phrase, people weren't raised, they were dragged up? It's that. It's actually, believe it or not, one of my first jobs was dealing with kids, I guess. 16, 17-year-olds, flipping vocational training.
Yeah, because they're going to say they're in the kids in this are in a vocational school.
Yeah, where we had sixth form. Basically there was sixth forms. What it was, there was actually centers, if you remember, like the YTP scheme and stuff.
Yeah, I remember.
So you could either go on to college or you could go to technical college. So I, believe it or not, used to be a tutor in a technical college back in the day, and I've seen these sort of kids. And you know that even if their parents are there, they're not there. Their parents are down the pub. Because
it's kind of like that even in modern days, like that in Japan. Because you think it's like you've got both parents who are working ridiculously long hours. Kid gets in at night. There's like a plate of food cling filmed on the table with a note on it, going to be late. Warms up in the microwave.
Yeah, latchkey kids. It was a phenomenon of the 80s.
Just go out and cause trouble just to give themselves a few kicks and a bit of excitement.
Attention, at the end of the day, it's
nicking
that whole thing of getting self-worth, and if you're not getting it at home or if you're not academically brilliant, because this is once again, this is human nature as well. It's everything focuses on either top of the pile or bottom of the pile. So it's either you're super academic, talented, top of your sphere, guess what? You get all the notoriety, you get all the praise and that, or you are bottom of the pile and you get all the help, and everybody in the middle sort of gets left. And I think these kids are not quite bottom of the pile, but they're just a hair's breadth from it. So they're not even important enough to be in a special scheme or to help build them up. They're not actually important enough to be that.
They're not at the bottom of the heap, but they're close enough to the bottom of it to be angry about it.
Yes. And it's that sort of, that's what creates the acting up. That's what creates the gang culture. That's what it's a whole knock-on effect. But humans we're hardwired that way. There's nothing changing who we are. We'll always be like that. We've been the same since we crawled out of caves, and we'll be the same when we reach the stars. It's just who we are, and I think if you get comfortable with that, you don't get as angry, and you don't get involved, and you can step back and you can have conversations with people. If you can't take that step back, then you're running about in the bike. You know what I mean? You're getting involved in these gang fights.
I think a lot of what we're talking about is Tetsuo's problem, because he's angry. He's kind of like he's the one that everybody wants to protect, but he doesn't want to be protected. He wants to stand up. He wants the strength to stand up on his own 2 feet.
Yeah, but once again, that's what it does it in the macro with the whole scenario, and then it does in the micro, which is Tetsuo's and Kanada's relationship.
Yeah, which is
one of brotherhood almost, and friendship. It's still a burning resentment there.
Yeah, which is that is why I think Tetsuo turns out the way he does in the film.
Yeah, it was once again chaos of the universe brought the two together.
I want the power to stand up on my own feet, and he finds that power.
But once the power corrupts him completely, because he's not a fully developed person, because he hasn't had a chance. And once again, there's no heroes, and there's almost no blame, because everyone's a product of their environment.
Yeah.
So once again, this is where you have to take a nuanced view. You can't just be black and white. This is this is that. It's when you hear them talking the way they are, actually, what else were they going to do, really?
Yeah, true.
That's their environment. It's, of course, if they're not out ratting, throwing bricks at the police, they're going to be stealing bikes and having gang wars just to feel that camaraderie of brotherhood, with the gang and etc. And they're almost the cards stacked against them before they even come into the world, and especially this world. And you can see that. Now, are there opportunities for heroism? Are there opportunities to step back? Yes, and that's sort of explored here too. Like one of the characters I feel really sorry for in this is Kari. That poor girl, but once again, she's a product of her environment. She's not, and it's interesting because apparently Ôtomo got sticked for the way he drew the girls in this, because they weren't what we would say, they weren't pinup models, they were ordinary girls, so they were all shapes and sizes. And he got a lot of stick for drawing them, I guess. But
he's done that with he's done that with, I think, every manga who was involved in the characters look the same. I mean, it's more of a westernized thing where we expect women in anime to be like, God, what's the word I'm looking for? We expect them to be like incredibly beautiful with incredibly
Genshin Impact type.
Yeah,
female characters.
Thin waist, wide hips, big boobs, huge eyes, tiny nose, little slit for mouth.
Yeah, but these are girls as well. They're not fully. They're only 16, 17 years of age, so they haven't even fully developed. So of course, you're going to have they're still that gawky teenager, still growing out their skin. And he just drew reality once again.
It's. I think with anime fans in the West, you have to think that most of the anime that are really, really popular in the West have been created for children.
That's fair enough. I have a Demon Slayer collection.
Naruto,
I'm guilty.
for one of them. Demon Slayer for everyone. But like Naruto. Naruto is a children's anime. Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball Z is incredible.
God, that's
children's anime.
That's purely kids.
It's like Sailor Moon. What else can I say?
I don't understand adults still being into that, or Yu-Gi-Oh and stuff. I scratch my head a bit at that.
No. I mostly watch. I like action. I like giant robots. Occasional rom-com. Horror comedies. I watch all kinds of stuff. I start off watching like every single thing that's there, and then over 3-4 weeks I drop half of them just to concentrate on the ones I'm really enjoying.
Yeah, if you're into anime, don't get a Netflix subscription, by the way, because that is low tier, low hanging fruit.
I don't know. Violet Evergarden's on Netflix. My Happy Marriage is on Netflix. Neither of them
Castlevania
are.
was all right until about
Neither,
season
neither.
3.
I'm gonna say neither of those are horror, but they're damn fine anime.
But most of it's just, your generic stuff that
Yeah,
one looks exactly the same as the rest. And stay
I
away
love.
from Prime. Prime is shit.
Most actually, it's like some of the some of the best anime that's been released in Japan in the past couple of years is on Disney Plus,
God.
which no one watches.
Yeah.
Which is kind of sad, but it's like most of the really really good horror anime has never been shown outside of Japan.
That's a shame.
But
then again,
it's just. But it's like, yeah, you have to think. It's like people want like thick thighs and bouncing boobies and cute ladies and comedy and giant
that's fun. I am
robots and
not.
things
Trust
like
me,
that.
I love 80s horror, so I'm not averse to a nice bouncy set of boobies.
I
And
never
we
mentioned.
we actually have KPIs in this channel, by the way. I don't know if you
Let's
know
say
that.
I
We
never
require,
have, and I never will mention tentacles.
yeah.
I've seen Legend of the Overfiend. Oh my god! Will we be covering Legend of the Overfiend? Please say no.
Yeah, look, at
Oh
the end of the day,
god!
this is another segment that started up in the channel that'll be going on for as long as it goes on, sort of thing. There's no.
Oh my god! Of a warning, just for a warning for anyone who's watching this, and Colin, I listed out my favorite anime the other day, my favorite horror anime out the other day, and there's like 50 of them.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a year's worth of content.
Yeah, they'll be here a while.
Most of them are series though, so we might have to split them up.
Yeah, I think we're looking at Kiku, wasn't it? And we're going to do maybe 3 episodes a stream.
Yeah,
So that's fair enough.
Because that'd
Yeah,
be like 4 episodes per series.
It'll be nice to bring stuff that's not as well known. Like obviously, this is even if you've never watched an anime, somebody says Akira, you know what it is.
Yep.
Instantly, the word association. Oh, manga, and without even knowing what it is. That's how well known and how much of a cultural impact
that is it. It's
this
like
movie had.
Akira is synonymous with manga now.
Yeah, but it's not what it's become. Anime has almost become a parody of itself because it started marketed, well, the Americans, let's be honest, who, while there's some dear friends who are American and some interesting folks, most of that country's full of low rent people, just basic, and that's all they want is basic stuff. They're basic people wanting basic things, so I can't deal with nuance. That's just not their culture.
That's it. I mean, I keep an eye on what Crunchyroll is releasing. I don't have a Crunchyroll subscription, but I keep an eye on what they're releasing, and there's some terrible stuff coming out.
That's for the masses, at the end of the day.
It's just kind of like pulp anime. It's there's nothing where you're like, oh, I need to watch that, but because so little of the air quotes good stuff is being shown over here, anime fans in the West will just grab over anything. I think the best thing they've shown recently was probably is Demon Slayer.
That was a fun series.
Demon Slayer
was, and it had enough adult themes in it. It was tame. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, but at the same time, it does go into the dark areas.
That anime, believe it or not, is rated 13 up. There are some really dark scenes in it, but Japan believes that, Japan knows that 13-year-old children can deal with that.
Yeah.
Because there have been I'm going to mention that terrible series again, Sailor Moon. So, this is like the West versus the East. Yeah. When Sailor Moon was shown in the West, they cut one episode. There is an episode where a monster attacks the school that Sailor Moon is going to, and one of her friends gets trapped onto a wall. In the English version, she's sent to a hospital and you never see her again. In the Japanese version, the next episode deals with her death and the aftermath of it, the fallout from it. Japan is not scared enough to inform its children that, you know what, people do die.
Yeah, and that's, believe it or not, that's the point of this. a lot of storytelling, and that's why the earliest fairy tales involve death, because it's going to happen. Death is an inevitable part of life, and how do you prepare yourself for it? Is you know it exists, you talk about it, you have it in stories. People don't go away, people die, and unfortunately, that stupid culture we live in, where everyone wrapped in cotton wool and babied. Well, look at how they're turning. You've got 30-year-old babies running about the place who are so fragile that even an opposing idea about a movie, like people will fall out with each other over a friggin' movie, whether you like it or not. That's how fragile and just pathetic people are today. And it doesn't show. It's not a good way for society to be, which this thing does not. This is not saying a post-apocalyptic world is good. This thing is not saying being in a biker gang is good. This movie is also not saying experimenting on children is a good thing to do. Funnily enough, because guess what? Every like brief moment of a scene where this is glorified, it goes tits up the next scene and just shows you it's not a good life to lead. Like, where's the harm?
Yeah.
And like I said, Kari, because Tetsuo is so angry and so broken a person, he actually has a girl that loves him, and he rejects. He's just an accessory because he feels like he has to have an accessory.
She's just kind of a toy. I mean, shall we talk about the scene where they get attacked by the clown gang?
The second, because obviously after the first fight, they decide to see them in the middle of the street. This is after Tetsuya, the Espers try to reach out to him, and you get that absolute freak. We'll talk about that first, actually, before we get there, because the Espers try to reach out to Tetsuya when he's in the hospital the first time. And they start using their toys and their daddy bears. And oh my god, you cannot. That music still sticks in my head today.
Yeah, it is. Oh god, you had to remind me, didn't you? But it's like, I mean, it's kind of like these three children have decided that Tetsuo is dangerous, and so they're gonna kill him. I mean, what kind of shit have these three kids been through that the only way they can think of like stopping something from happening is to kill him?
Mm-hmm.
Who gives a child? All right, because it's like you presume from the way they speak they're quite young.
But at the same time, because of the experiments, you can actually, and that's one the drawing on this is these are 9-10-year-olds, but they've got the weight of the world, like the way they're being drawn, like the wrinkles.
It's like
the grey ashiness to them all, that they've got the weight of the world on their shoulders.
They look more like old people or corpses than children. But what as a 9-10-year-old, what do you have to go through to think that, like, do you know what, murder is the best way out of this?
Yeah. But we get it, when we see some of the flashbacks and what they've been through, and even that was, I mean, they're busy used as lab rats. In fact, I would say lab rats have a better life.
It's like 24, 25, 26. Oh, no, 25, 26, 27. Okay, what happened to 24 and... ask?
Or 1 to 20, you know what I mean? It's...
Yeah.
And actually, you see that there's a scene as well in the flashback where the classroom's full, and it's got toys, and they're playing, and then it goes down.
The numbers just go down and down.
Everything gets more intense. Yeah. But obviously, the attack Tetsuya, he doesn't even know the power, and he hears the name Akira, and he's like, who is that? Is that who's doing this? And he's hearing his voice in his head, but he escapes, and he meets up with Kari, and they're like, let's get out of here, sort of thing. And that's...
steals Canada's bike.
Yeah. And he can't ride it because he's yeah, the thing's configured for him. But that's what also that envy as well, which I don't know. The guy stuck his neck out. Canada didn't have to stick his neck out for Tetsuo at all. But we've seen this where sort of the popular kid or the one that can stick up for themselves reaches out to someone, and then that person effectively hates them for it.
Yeah, he's I say that's Tetsuo's problem. It's like he was saved. He was saved when he was younger by Canada, and he's been living in Canada's shadow ever since, and he absolutely hates and resents him for it.
Yeah,
I think that from the first scene where you see him sitting on the bike, from the glance over his shoulder as Canada walks out the bar, it's like you can see there's something there, but it's not until he actually like gains power that it absolutely rots his mind.
Yeah, and that's some people are meant to wield power, others aren't. That's a message in this as well. Believe it or not.
Obviously, Tetsuo never heard that great line: "With great power comes great responsibility."
But yeah,
see, if only Tetsuo read Spider-Man, none of this would have happened.
Nah, I think this needed to happen because it's the only way this is going to go. It's not a happy story. But yeah, the clown gang attacking them the second time, and the fact that that was brutal, and it wasn't even graphic. It was graphic, but it could have went a lot worse.
It's just the fact that it's like they punched Tetsuo once. Tetsuo's on the ground. They then beat the living shit out of Kari, her face after that scene.
But a lot of it's done off camera.
Swollen, puffed up,
yes,
bruised, and it's like she has been through so much worse. But he's just lying on the ground, sniveling until Canada and the others turn up.
Yeah, but she's just an accessory to him, and that becomes obvious from this scene onwards. And like I said, of all the characters, she's the one my heart went down to in this story because she did not deserve. When you can genuinely say someone doesn't deserve their fate in life.
She's it's like her entire role in the anime. She's just there to suffer.
Yeah, but
it's like all you can do is shake your head.
How can you trigger? Like once again, this is trying to get people. Like you almost think this story and being as the background of the 80s and the Cold War and everything, we were all just a button push away from annihilation, and it was everywhere. It was all over the globe. And I don't think anybody that hasn't grown up in that era understands that's the backdrop. Like we had our infighting and we had stuff going on in our own locales, but at the same time we had the threat of actual annihilation, and it was just one dictator away from it happening.
Yeah, because it's like I've talked to people. I've talked to people who are way younger than I was, and they cannot comprehend the Cold War.
You can't.
I mean, this is just. I mean, I grew up during the Cold War, and I had a perfectly normal childhood. You didn't think about the threat of the fact that some wrong word from a politician could like end the world. It's like my mum grew up during World War II, and it was exactly the same thing. She was because it's like, what was it like growing up in World War II? And she's like, I don't know, just didn't think about it.
Yeah, you get on with daily. Well, that's I grew up the Troubles.
Yeah,
you get on with your life. It was normal. You don't. It's only later on when you step back and you reflect. That wasn't normal. Nobody should have to live like that sort of thing.
It is really, really. I mean, in the case of like the kids, the people in Akira, it is very, very frightening what you can normalize.
And these people have, they've normalized annihilation and the fact that they're on the brink of this could happen at any time and moves are being made. It's just like they are in the powder keg still, and that it's amazing how culturally that filters down into the micro. So people's actions, there's almost a wanton abandon of, well, the world's shit. But
So we're gonna make the best out of it as we can.
Kari's suffering in this scene with it back again. Like I said, it's done cleverly because Ôtomo could have went for the jock thing here. He could have shown that scene in its fullest.
It implicates way more than it shows.
Yes, and where it was going to go if Canada and the rest of the gang hadn't arrived.
Yeah, it is.
It wasn't going to be pretty.
It's one of the film's oh shit moments.
But it's a window into the world they live in. You know, this is normal. This is day to day. It's quite possible that Canada and the capsules have done the same.
Yeah, it is.
There's no good guys and bad guys. They're not saying that they're the good biker gang. It is entirely possible. There's a scene with the groupies that almost highlights that they would be doing the same to the clown gang given the chance.
Yeah. There are no signs.
No, you do, and this is, I think, where people might have a problem with this movie, especially today, because people are absolutely stupid. Who's the good guy? Who do you root for? No, this isn't what this is about. This is showing a shit situation made worse by meddling in things that you shouldn't be meddling in. And all it's doing is showing you a window of the possibilities and how a bunch of characters at various stations, because you've got the very low of the low to the highest of the high, the government and the head of the military for Tokyo. You're seeing at all levels the various struggles that deal with the world they're in. And you've also got the people through the cultists have just let go of reality because that's their coping mechanism of living in this world.
Just on a side note, in an interview he did after the successful release of the manga before the film was created, Katsuhiro Ôtomo was in an interview and he said that it's like the character of Canada is based on him when he was that age, because he used to be part of a biker gang who used to go tearing around the streets of Tokyo. So Canada has a lot of him in it. Whether or not this means he was really good at driving a motorbike but absolutely useless with women, we don't know. But it's just the fact that it's kind of like, what was his life like?
But also, and this is where I go back to the original poster for Akira. It's a massive misdirect. You see that, you see the cool bike, you see the guy with his back's turned to the leather jacket. And oh, here's the hero of the story. Here's the cool kid. And he's an absolute plank. Do you know what I mean? And that's how you subvert somebody's expectations in a good way. And what he's done here is, he's not glorifying his life then, because there's nothing here glorified. It's making you think. And people seem to be frightened of doing that these days. Don't want to think.
I'm trying to find the article now, but I didn't bookmark it like a fool.
I can understand the backlash he got from this movie because, like I said, it's anyone's expecting pew pew zap zap, goodies and baddies and all clean cut lines and pretty expecting Pixar basically.
How dare he give us a plot?
Yeah.
How dare he give us a story? It's like the animation is amazing. Yeah.
Oh, without a doubt,
it's got the anime. It is like people will tell you that the 80s, early 90s were the golden age of animation before everything started being computerized. Now I agree with them because it's like this is it's a work of art. It's a work of love. It's like the amount of detail that has been painted into those cells is absolutely incredible. But it's not the amazing artwork or the incredibly smooth animation that keeps you watching the film. It's the story, the plot, and the people out there always seem to resent the fact that he's given us this amazing story.
It's because it's not clear cut. It's not shiny. It's not. It's say somebody's only ever right. Do you know that kid that's only ever given burger meals for its dinner,
Yeah.
and then you try and take it to a restaurant, and it throws an absolute fit?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
that's what it is.
there is a massive step up from I don't know, Sailor Moon to Akira. But I actually think when Manga Entertainment and it was Island World was the parent company. I think when Island World turned around and they released Akira into the West, it was a huge step up from the stuff that most people had seen.
Oh yeah, but once again, it's not even just a step up because it's never really been topped. Like, this is a unique piece of art. It's a unique piece of work. And there's a reason why the Steelbook gets sold out that was only released a couple of years ago. There's a reason when they do the 30th anniversary, the 40th anniversary, this thing will, once it hits the shelves, is gone.
Yeah.
There's a reason this is going to stand the test of time. It's a unique piece of work. And you're left to the audience to make your own mind up how you feel about it.
Yeah, it's like a lot of anime. It's one moment in history. There will never be there'll be copies that are filmed. There'll be films that follow the same kind of like tropes, etc. as this does, but there will never be another Akira.
No, because that's and there'll never be an Akira sequel, right? Because they'll never. This is lightning in a bottle, and it will never hold up.
They approached Katsuhiro Ôtomo to see if he was interested in animating the arc that's missing from like that's missing from the anime. He gave them a flat no. And the company, Kodansha, Toho, the companies involved, just went, fair enough, turned around and walked away.
And you know what? That is...
And much respect to them for doing it. I wish some entertainment companies in the West would do that.
This, like I said, this is the Western has become the fast food chain. Just slop, put in a shiny box, and no substance to it. That's that's the state of Western at the time. There's a reason why in comic book stores, the physical comic book stores are left, 90% of them are anime now, and only like 10%, a shelf or two, are Western comics.
One of my local comic book shops shut down. There were two guys who ran it. One of the guys passed away, unfortunately, passed away young. And he was the anime, the manga fan there. And as soon as he passed away, the guy who was still there just like moved all of that out and just filled it with, I don't know, some Western comics. There was things like what Beamworld, Thieves and Pirates, things like that. There's some really good stuff in it, but it was mostly Thieves and Kings. It was mostly superhero stuff. And it's like the crowd that used to gather there just kind of drifted away because everything was kind of like everything just like tasted of cardboard. If that makes any sense.
It does. It's fake. It's plastic. It's not.
It was the bland. It was go, ha, I am the good guy and I am going to win this, even though the entire world's against me and there's no chance I can win. It's like superhero comics bug me because like a lot of things bug me because the good guy always wins. The good guy always wins, which is something that doesn't always happen in anime, and I love that.
Well, that's why I'm a horror fan, because there's not always a happy ending. It's all about the story. You tell a good story, and let the story dictate where the characters go, and don't be a cliche. And yes, there's plenty of cliche stuff in horror, but at the same time, it's where the more imaginative stuff is. It's where people push boundaries.
There's so much cliche in anime as well. It's like anime goes through trends, and they basically Disneyfy it. You know how Disney grabs hold of something and just kind of like squeezes the life out of it, squeezes the life, like Star Wars, for example. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's like anime studios do the same. It's like someone will come up with a new idea. Have you ever heard of isekai?
No.
Right. The idea behind isekai is someone dies in this world by an accident or because something's gone wrong, and they appear in front of a god, and the god goes, "Oops, sorry, you weren't meant to die. Tell you what, I'll give you a new life in this world, and you can have some kind of overpowered superpower to make it easier for you." There is so much of that out there at the moment. I am sick of it. It's
what is that series where they've got the giants, but they don't have skin?
Attack on Titan.
Attack on Titan, yes.
Yeah.
Right. Even though that's horror themed, that is, to me, a classic example of westernized anime. You have the one special character, he does the special thing, and either puts on the suit or transforms. Yada, yada, yada. Rinse and repeat.
Yeah, Attack on Titan has a huge following, but I stopped after the second season. I will watch it eventually, but it's kind of like, yeah, there's other things I want to watch more.
Oh yeah, it got old very quick. It got very repetitive. But that seems to be the rinse and repeat formula of westernized anime.
Yeah.
Where this wasn't made for a Western audience. This was just taking a graphic novel, a series, and wanting to make it into animation. It just happened to be lightning in the bottle. It just happened to be a worldwide phenomenon.
A graphic novel that wasn't even finished.
Mm-hmm.
They've been talking to Ôtomo for a couple of years. It's like literally as soon as Akira got itself like settled in and the story started flowing, people were talking to him like, we need you to make an anime of this. It's like it had to be an anime because there was, like you said, there was no way they could do this in live action.
Yeah, 100%. And if it did it, even like if they tried to do it in live action, it would just be CGI. So it may as well just be on. This is done better.
It's like
it would look worse.
Yeah, a lot of live action films are slowly turning into anime because the fact that CGI can now like keep up with live action. Because it's like there's a OVA that's an anime that was released straight to video called Gunbuster. There is a battle scene in the last episode of Gunbuster where there are literally like 10,000 ships on screen. There was no way you could do that in live action when that was released back in the 80s.
No, it's not even anime made that. It's believe it or not, Peter Jackson, Sir Peter Jackson, and Andy Serkis. They with the motion capture and Weta Studios, they pioneered all of that.
I'll never forgive them for what they did to The Hobbit.
We've covered it on the show because we did the entire Peter. Believe it or not, Peter Jackson's horror director first and foremost.
I did not know that. He probably
we have covered the entire series of his movies.
Probably did some like really. I can see him as being the kind of director who would do some.
Brain Dead, Meet the Feebles.
Oh God, Brain Dead. Yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah, I can imagine him being quite a competent horror director. But it's
watch Heavenly Creatures. That was the one that brought him to the world stage, believe it or not.
But then again, if you think about looking at Akira, yeah, the guy directing it, the guy who's in charge of saying like, no, this, we know you spent like a week doing this scene, but it needs to be done differently. Do it this way. He's not a film director. He draws comics for a living. That is, I mean, it's like, how the hell do you rise to that? I mean, I know that like creating manga is different from creating, because it's like if you create a comic in this country, you have the person who writes the script, the person who draws the arts, and the person who puts the speech bubbles and the lettering in. A manga artist is all those three rolled into one. It's like this guy was what? This guy was publishing.
Well, sure, he pioneered the technique. He had the voice actors record their voices first, and then the anime over the top. So the voice actors had to actually use their they had nothing but storyboard to go off.
That is the way they still do it. The actor there'll be a video roll of the storyboard, and the actors do the storyboard, and then they animate over the top of that to make the voices fit and the actions work better. But
and
it's just like this. Yeah, but this guy is like Ôtomo was. What is? Let's think. Is Akira was published every fortnight, which every fortnight he would have to produce 20 pages of finished manga to the magazine. So that's 40 pages a month. Every fortnight for 8 years. And he still found time amongst that to create the movie Akira.
But they even said themselves in the doc, and I highly recommend getting the special features. Anyone who has not seen this, get the special features and watch the documentary. Akira is basically its own studio, and it's above a shop. Do you know what I mean? It's above a row of shops. It is it's your
sweatshop in a cupboard. Yes,
it's a flipping sweatshop in the cupboard, but it's open 24 hours a day. It does not stop. That's the one thing that, put it like this, you would have to be mad to work there, because it's not a job, it's a vocation. You're joining the equivalent of a Shaolin temple for animation. Those people, they live, breathe them, just that is their life.
Yeah, because I've had people come up to me and say it's only a cartoon. To try to say, could you do it?
Yeah,
I'd hate to be in a situation like that, but my God, I'd talk about it if I was.
Anyone that's been with this channel for a while, I think they understand. I'm never going to slag anybody off for creating something. Where I have a problem is if I feel like somebody doesn't give a toss, and if I translate that they're just cashed it in, they're just going through the motions, I will rip them apart. And that is so obvious when it, like I said, a lot of the dialed in stuff, like Attack on Titan stuff, it's so dialed in that it's off the factory shelf. Okay, transpose those characters with any other storyline, and it's exactly the same.
Attack of Titan is another one that's like it's pretty much a carbon copy of the manga. If you read the manga of Attack on Titan, you don't need to watch the anime, because it's pretty much scene for scene.
Yeah, but that series with like loads of series like that, even an aspect of Demon Slayer is the same. You can almost see the carbon copy of, you take the characters and you just put them in a new costume and you put them in a new scenario, and it's the same story beats almost.
Yeah,
and that's
the generic anime hero.
Yeah. That's where I have a problem, and that's where I will rip someone a new one.
I like films that I like anime that are different. There's an anime called The Saga of Tanya the Evil, which is all about this girl who, because she has magical powers, is fighting in this world war, which is it's basically World War II, but it's like basically kind of like another World War II, but she's on the German side. She puts Hitler to shame with some of the crap that she pulls off. But it's kind of like she's not the hero. She's most decidedly the villain of the piece. But it's refreshing to watch because it's different. It's something you won't see anywhere else. Because God help us if anybody over here in the West pulls a stunt like that.
No, it just gets, but then that's the thing. Things get cheapened down once it leaves the fan base and it's trying to reach everybody. It ends up reaching nobody. That's always the story. But this is a complete story. Yes, is there room for it to move on? Could it be told? Yes, but does it need to? No. What he's done is he's taken a snapshot of his entire series.
Yep.
Condense it into a movie. Like, this didn't need to be any longer or shorter, or I didn't feel like it was going on too long. at the end of it, I didn't feel like I was cheated.
Yeah.
There should have been more. It was perfect length.
Yeah, it's like I've said in the manga, they've cut out a lot of the interactions between some of the characters. They've cut a lot of the characters' screen time. That they've missed like an entire story arc out. Does the film need any of that? Yeah, no, it doesn't. It doesn't need that at all. It's like the story in Akira is exactly the same as the story in the manga, but with it's like all the spurious fat sliced off it. It's like you're just getting the meat of the story.
Yeah, but reading a book or reading a graphic novel is a different experience from watching a movie.
Yeah.
And that's, once again, I don't get the argument. Yeah, people always say the book is better, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, the book has more time to go into depth. You're having a different experience when you're reading the book. Like, I'm just in the last section of Jurassic Park at the moment.
Yeah.
It's a different experience from watching the movie.
Totally.
It's meant to be.
But it's like that, right. Normally, to make an anime, to make a lot of them, there are three stages. There's the light novel, which is basically a novel, the reading book. There's the manga, and there's the anime. The novel gives you the freedom of your imagination to show the scenes as you want. They're called light novels because they have illustrations that show you what the characters are and do some of the scenes in it.
But you put the rest together.
Yeah, but the rest of it. A manga is kind of like it's a series of snapshots. It's like the manga artist thinks, right, I'm going to draw this character hitting this other guy, attacking this other guy with a sword. He draws it. It's a snapshot. The anime fills in the gaps between the snapshots. Is the way my
the manga is basically as if they're there with the camera just taking snaps.
Yeah, but it's kind of like it's the equivalent of like I don't know, watching a race, to looking at a bunch of photographs of the race, to listening to someone telling you about the race.
Yeah, and that's perfectly fine as long as each is done.
I'm a big fan of all three of them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Each has their own. Each is a different experience, and if you're a rounded individual, you'll obviously dip into each. I can't get into that. That's the thing with the show. I can't get into that level of debate. I'll use inverted commas for that because it isn't a debate. It's just people bashing their heads against walls and being stupid.
It's personal preference, and it's very rarely you will find anyone with exactly the same preference as you. I mean, when we were discussing role playing just before we came on, we have just differences of opinion, but that's fine.
Yeah, and guess what? With differences of opinions, we still play games together and we still have a good time.
This is true. Yeah,
where's the problem? This is what I'm trying to push back against. That's one thing. If I'm going to try and do anything with this channel, is to push back against that narrative. Now, it might be boring. It might be, oh, you're not one of us. I don't want those sort of knuckle draggers. I'm not interested in performing for that crowd.
I don't want to be one of us. I want to be me. I want to be a unique individual who can have their own taste in stuff and talk about it freely and have like conversations with people, maybe argue with people over the points of it. But it's kind of like, I don't want to be part of a crowd.
No. You can find people for a moment, for a shared interest, come together for that, and then diverge. But it's what makes us interesting as people. We're not all the same.
That's one of the things that got me into anime. The fact it was something new. It was something different. It was something unlike anything I'd ever seen before, and for the most part is still unlike anything I've ever seen before. I mean, it's like various like entertainment companies in the West have tried to like jump on the bandwagon, but none of them have been really successful. None of them have been successful. There's always just like something missing or something there that shouldn't be. And it's like if me being a fan of anime makes me weird, I'm bloody prepared to be it. You can't see it now, but I'm giving everyone who disagrees the finger. Swivel, yeah.
I'll give them there. I can do it. I'll give it for you.
Oh,
no, I've no time for that sort of person. I really don't, and that's what I'm trying to do is bringing this stuff to light, is having the discussion, and I don't just do the one type of horror. It'd be so easy just to do the mainstream Hollywood stuff, and the channel would probably be 10 times more popular than what it is. And I could go over the same talking spots that everybody else does. That is boring. I don't even watch that stuff. It turns me off after a while. And I think folks that come here want to see this type of conversation. And I'm glad for the use that do, because it makes it interesting for me. It's like we're having our chats, we're bringing stuff that I might not necessarily know about. I'm not deep. I think you understand I've got an appreciation for anime and manga, but am I anyway a super fan or deep into the lore? No. But it doesn't mean I'm not prepared to learn.
Do you know a good friend, Andy?
Oh, yes.
He's unhappy with me because I've corrupted you and turned you into a weeb.
Hey, hold on. The reason I'm reading Jurassic Park right now is because of Andy. So he's, what I mean? He has to take responsibility as well. The reason I'm reading that book is so we can have the chat about it at a later, before too long. I'm on the last section of it, like I said, and discuss that and the movie and the differences. I want to have that conversation.
I didn't really enjoy that. Andy will be so in there because he's so into his dinosaurs.
But once again, I'm not. There's another avenue I wouldn't normally cover, but it's worth having a conversation when you look, take off the superficial level. That's what we're all about here. It's find those little angles that's worthy of having the discussion about. Notice I never say debate, because that's horrible. That's just about, my team's going to beat your team.
That's just debates. Debates is just like person A shouts, person B shouts.
Nothing changes. No ideas are discussed.
Debates is just people talking over each other.
Yeah, there's shitloads of channels out there that does that sort of stuff. Go find them, knock yourself out, and have fun. You know what I mean?
I'd rather insert bamboo splinters under my fingernails. Thank you very much.
Be less painful. Hurt your brain less.
Probably do some good.
So we've kind of, once again, we're not going into who Akira is, etc., and how this resolves itself. We're kind of leaving that out because it's, if you haven't seen this movie, you need to.
It's kind of like Akira doesn't show up until literally. I honestly think for the majority of the film.
No, he's there. Akira is there,
but
he's not fully there until the end.
He's there in he's only there as literally dreams and things that things that the three espers say to Tetsuo. Basically, are what bring you to Akira to life in the mid part of the film.
Yeah, but he's there. He's also there because he's communicating with Tetsuo.
And there's weird quasi-religious types chanting Akira's name at various locations in the film.
And then to see him as the second coming of Akira. But once again, that doesn't play out how people expect. This is where the movie strips away. It's almost making fun of the superhero genre with a certain scene. The bridge scene definitely makes fun of the superhero genre, and also people's, wanting to latch onto a hero and not taking responsibility for their own life. That it takes that idea of passing off responsibility, to another entity, and spits in your face with it, and I like that.
I say that is religion in pretty much every shape or form out there.
Yeah, but also the gang culture. I mean, the biker gang culture is also absolving responsibility. It's society's fault we are the way we are. But I mean, it's all different levels. The only one person, like I said, and I wouldn't even say he's a hero. But Colonel Shikishimi. He's the only straight peg in this.
He's kind of like the rock in the middle of the ocean, isn't he? It's
He's
like
trying to hold it all together
she
against.
like while everybody else is losing it, he's like Shikishima is just kind of like this rock in the middle of it that never moves, never wavers.
He doesn't change from the beginning to the end. He is still the same person,
I honestly,
despite everything.
I honestly think he's one of my favorite characters just because of his level-headedness.
Yeah,
It's
I
like
would say
everything's falling to pieces. He's just like, right, we need to do this.
yeah,
Go and
he
get
is
that.
steadfast, and there's he's stoic and steadfast, and there's a need for that in the world, especially today. Like I said, everyone's so fragile. You need a bit of that back.
Yeah,
But Kari is the one that really pulled at my heartstrings.
it's like if there was one character you could like, if you could reach into a
Give her a bloody cuddle. Oh my god.
save one character, it would be Kari. You think she gets it bad in the anime?
No, I know it's been, even though it's an 18 movie, it's still, but also it's the idea. Don't forget, when you don't show the monster and when you hint at it and you let your mind fill in the blanks, that's what true horror is.
That's just it. And it's like Kari deserves so much better than she gets. My God, I'm not a fighter. I've never been a fighter, but I would beat the shit out of those guys. It's like it's that scene of the film, the scene in the film where Kari is beaten up shows you just what kind of a guy Tetsuo really is, because
he was more angry at Canada.
He gets punched once, and he just sits on the floor crying while those guys just beat the crap out of his girlfriend. And then when the cavalry comes over the hill, he's angry because he could have sorted it. You can't sort anything sitting on your ass in tears, mate.
Yeah.
You can't sort anything while you're a bystander.
And for someone who has been punched in the face once or twice in my life, you can't be afraid of getting a punch in the face. There's sometimes you're going to do a thing, you're like, I'm going to get the melt knocked out of me. And I've been there more than once. It's that I'm going to get the melt knocked out of me, but I'm going for it because stepping back's the wrong thing to do.
They're going to beat the crap out of me, so it's the least you can do is try and beat the crap out of them back.
Yeah, and it's amazing how you come through the other side.
It's only courteous, really, isn't it? I mean,
yeah, and there's been one or two times in my life where it's like, oh, did I do that? Please are coming, right? Time to go. And then you reflect on it later.
It's all right. You've got plenty more teeth. You won't need those few. It's like, but it's like Tetsuo. He starts when you first meet him. He comes across as being like an angry young youth who you can kind of empathize with, because it's like the entire bike gang is full of angry young youths doing the kind of things that angry young youths do. But then is an angry young youth who hasn't got the nous to stand up for himself and his friends. All he wants to do is resent the people he thinks are. He just wants to be angry at the people he thinks are stopping him from being the person he wants to be.
And when he's given ultimate power,
he gets corrupted straight away
and becomes this Wimdate. So I think because we could actually spoil this, and I don't want to because needless to say, just to wrap up, God, I could go on for hours about this. And it's not even. This is where you know you've got a good film and a good piece of art. Is you're talking about other things, because it makes you think of other things in your life and where you are and the work. You know what I mean? That's impactful, and that requires cleverness.
Without saying too much, the finale of this film is so good. It is so good. I honestly don't think they could have ended it better than they did.
No, it brilliant. But there you go. Flea, thanks again for we're going to talk. You can't talk about anime without this. You can't.
Oh, always a pleasure.
And,
like you say, I could go on talking about Akira and related topics for like at least another 2 hours.
Yeah, but that's how good it is. And it's amazing how good it is. Makes you do that. And I can't fake being excited about something.
And it's like,
I can't fake
mm,
for the stupid camera thing. This is because the corporate thing is. I can't. If I'm genuinely blown away by something, I am. If I'm not, I'm like, nah, I'll not hide it. This is an amazing film. It's a
like,
one in a lifetime, lightning in a bottle piece of art that was produced in the world, and you'll never get its likes again.
It's going on 40 years, and it still has everything it had when it first released. It's lost nothing. It has. It's timeless. It hasn't aged.
Nope.
It's like
and it's still relevant. That's the scary thing
today.
It's still so relevant today.
You watch it and you're like, oh,
yeah, that's still happening. Things don't change.
Also, just a side note on the soundtrack.
Akira.
The score, the music for the film is absolutely incredible. It fits the scene so well.
But it was almost 90% done by Akira. The soundtrack is human voice. There's very little instrumentation. It's apart from like just almost acoustic instruments in the background. This is all done by human voice. Once again, that was only a little snippet that I showed. The documentary for this is worth watching on the making list, and you'll understand that this is a collaboration. It's a piece of art, and everyone that comes to it brings something to the table, and they wanted it to be the best thing ever.
500 million yen well spent.
Absolutely. Like, there's stupid budgets spent on movies now on one aspect, and then they're crap and they look cheap and nasty. This was, we just want to make the best thing possible.
It's like they brought together the best people they could find to make this, and it shows because the quality just shines through.
Absolutely. And like I said, I can't speak highly enough of it. If you haven't watched this movie, you need to watch it. Just if you've no intention of becoming an anime fan or manga, or if you're not even a horror fan, this is a unique creation.
In a way, it transcends genre.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it's a film that you can sit. You don't have to know anything about the subject. You don't have to be a fan. You don't even have to have heard of it. But sit down and watch this film. It will drag you in. It will drag you in. It's just, if people ask me, like people who knew getting into anime or just interested, they ask me for like films and series and things to watch. Akira is always one of the ones you mention, because whether you are an anime fan or not, the chances are you've heard of Akira.
And it's worth it. You're not.
It is so worth it.
You're not wasting your time watching it. Right. I think before we go on for another 3 hours, that'll be
it's possible. It could happen.
When nerds get on cam. But there you go. Flea, mate, thanks as always.
Always a pleasure, Colin.
And until next time, folks, keep updated with the channel, do the typey clicky things, and remember to keep it creepy, keep it horrific.